Hello dear viewer, I've been watching a lot of films during the past 2 weeks and I thought I would give a bit of a collection update, some things that you might want to add on Blu-ray and 4K to your own personal collections. I've got a big stack of stuff here, so let's not waste any time. Let's go to the first one. We'll start big before I move on to some of the boutique releases, and when I say big I'm talking Disney level big. I got The Mandalorian on 4K Blu-ray. Now, I was surprised, as most people were, when this got announced to be getting a 4K physical release, because this was for quite a while a Disney Plus streaming exclusive, which I think shows that there is a demand for some of these streaming exclusive properties to come to physical media, and maybe things are moving in the sort of right direction. As we know, Disney are sitting on a mountain of things that need physical media releases. So hopefully, if these sort of releases are successful, it could open the door to some of those things, particularly, the Fox Vault and all of those great films that need releases. Anyway, I'm rambling now. The Mandalorian Season 2, arguably the best Star Wars thing that Disney has done since it acquired the whole franchise. It's only available on this limited edition currently. You get the 4K and the Blu-ray of the whole season, and the 4K looks, pretty much how I remembered it looking when I first watched it on Disney Plus. The cover of this particular steelbook has a really nice design as well. I kind of wish that the text wasn't on here, because the text was on the piece of cardboard, and on the back you've got a little baby Yoda, Grogu. So as I said, it's a highlight of Disney Star Wars so far, and hopefully this is the start of Disney releasing many more things on physical media. Sticking with Disney and sci-fi stuff for a moment here, I'll talk about the creator again. I made a video just yesterday about this film and what I think of it, but I did watch this. I had a good time with it. In my last video I talked about some of the problems about this film, so I just thought I'd highlight it here again, and do go and watch my previous video if you're interested in hearing more. Still sticking with science fiction and 4K, I have The Wandering Earth Part 2. This is the Chinese epic sequel or prequel to The Wandering Earth. I was very surprised to see this getting a 4K physical release here in the UK, because Part 1 is still only a Netflix exclusive, no physical media, so I do hope that changes. I actually still haven't seen Part 1. Now, you might think, well, why am I watching Part 2? Well, this is a prequel, so you don't actually have to have seen Part 1, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. The basic idea of this story is that the sun is dying out and humanity is at the brink of extinction unless they come up with some sort of solution. The solution they do come up with is to make these super nuclear engines on the Earth and actually move the Earth outside of the sun's orbit. Sounds kind of far-fetched, but the way that it is told in this film is really good and has some real emotion to it. The characters are great. We follow these different groups of characters throughout the film. I really enjoy it. And I've seen some people label this as, propaganda because it's supported by the Chinese government or whatever. Look at all the American films that are supported by the American government and the army. So that kind of stuff doesn't faze me. I thought the filmmaking was very good indeed, and I do hope more people seek this one out. Next, I've got the film Stigmata. This is the media book release from Cape Light. This is available in the UK and I think in Germany, maybe in the US. I'm not actually too sure. This is the UK edition though. Now, Stigmata is a bit of a weird one because historically I think people didn't really feel too fondly for this movie, but it seems to be going through a bit of a reappraisal at the moment. It's had quite a few releases from different labels, and on watching it this time, I think I can see why. There's a lot of interesting ideas going on here. Patricia Arquette plays this young hairdresser who starts to get these wounds on her body that are very much like the wounds of Christ during crucifixion. So Gabriel Byrne is brought in as this priest detective to investigate what is going on, and Jonathan Pryce plays one of the higher up priests in the organisation who is sort of an antagonist to Gabriel Byrne's character. You can draw a lot of parallels to The Exorcist from this film. I think that's valid, and while I don't think it reaches the heights of The Exorcist, it does some very interesting things and asks some very serious questions about all sorts of stuff. I'm being vague because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen this, but I had a great time revisiting it on the Cape Light media book. Following Stigmata, and wow, this is a transition. the Care Bears movie. This is also a Cape Light media book that I had to pick up. I've never actually seen the Care Bears movie. This is from the 1980s. Obviously, it's a movie version of the Care Bears. And I'd heard a number of people say to me that this is actually some sort of lost masterpiece of animation. And I asked those people, are you sure it's not pure nostalgia? And they said, no, it's not. And after watching it, I don't think I got what they were getting from this film. Maybe if this had been a big part of my childhood, I'd have felt differently. But I don't know, it didn't really do it for me on this first watch. Maybe it's just me as well, but this is from the 1980s, and I feel like the animation style is, a bit dated for the 80s. It looks like the kind of thing that Disney were doing like back in the 40s. Maybe that's way too harsh for essentially what is a film not for a grown man in his 30s. But yeah, not much more to say. The Care Bears movie, a great double bill with Stigmata. Rounding out the media books that I picked up is Quigly Down Under, the Tom Selleck movie where he goes to Australia and sorts stuff out. He is an expert marksman and he has this very early version of a sniper rifle. He's hired by Alan Rickman, who is this wealthy landowner who has this ranch, and he believes that his task is to just eliminate the dingoes and the other pests that are around. In actual fact, it's much darker than that. Rickman's character wants Quigly to eliminate the Aboriginal people that are in the area, which is something that his gang can't do themselves because, the Aboriginal people are smart enough to sort of keep their distance. So it's quite a weird movie because it feels like a fun sort of adventure film about this cool kind of, not Indiana Jones type character, but it's going for that sort of style, but then it's dealing with like quite serious subject matter. So I had a great time with it, and it's one of those perfect kind of Saturday afternoon movies and a nice media book from Cape Light to boot. Now for something very cool which really surprised me. It's The Frightened Woman, sometimes known as The Laughing Woman. This is a brand new release from Shameless Entertainment in the UK, and I have to admit I haven't had many releases from Shameless in the past. This is an Italian film from the late 60s where we follow this young woman who is held captive by this weird doctor who has these very strong ideas on what a man's role in society is versus what a woman's role is. And he subjects this young woman to all sorts of sexual games and weird perverse stuff. But she endures, she sticks through it all, and as the film moves along we start to see things shift in their power dynamics. Having not seen this one before, I thought I was just going to get some sort of middling Italian genre film. In actual fact, there was so much substance in this film, and if you've not seen this, I highly recommend it. It reminded me of this great film that I don't think a lot of people have seen, called The Duke of Burgundy, from director Peter Strickland. So any of those sort of films where these characters are morphing into something different, it's that sort of film, and I think this is great. It's so colourful as well, the sets are incredible, very of the time, so it's very evocative of the 1960s, but I loved it for that. It's from a 4K restoration, and there are some great interviews on the special features as well with the director and the lead actress. So highly recommended to anyone who enjoys, an Italian genre film, but also ones that have actually a lot more substance than you might think. Next is a film that I missed when it was first released theatrically last year, and I deeply regretted that. I finally got the Blu-ray. It's Afteron, directed by Charlotte Wells. I had heard so much critical acclaim for this film that I couldn't wait to see it. The film follows this young father and his teenage daughter as they go on this sunny holiday together to Turkey. And it's very melancholic because it's from the perspective of this young girl when she is a grown adult, assessing her own relationship with her father. And while I really enjoyed the film, it didn't hit me as I think it's hit a lot of people. I have to admit, when I sat down to watch it one evening, I was already feeling pretty depressed that day. So maybe I was not in the right state of mind to watch it. I didn't really get any sort of catharsis from it. It just made me feel a lot worse, quite frankly. So while I was able to appreciate all of the filmmaking and the storytelling and the visuals, the way it made me feel on that first viewing was not good. Maybe that's a testament to the power of the film that it can actually make me feel that sort of way. But I'm hoping to watch it again very soon, to kind of watch it with some fresh eyes, where I'm hopefully feeling a lot better. And I do think it's a great film, so I'm excited for that. Then I watched the film EO from director Jerzy Skolimowski. This is the BFI Blu-ray. There is also a Janus Contemporaries Blu-ray from Criterion in the US, and this is a fantastic film. I'm an absolute sucker for a film about a donkey who is going through some hard times. I'm not just talking about Shrek 2, I'm talking about this, Bresson, Banshees of Inisherin, any film with a donkey. I'm there. The whole film is told from the perspective of this donkey who is treated nicely by some people and treated horribly by some others. And it is an odyssey, a quest, meeting all these different people along the way. And because it's from the perspective of the donkey, it's really an interesting viewpoint of humanity. You know, watching how we interact with each other and certainly with animals is very well done in this film. And I'm really happy to say that because Jerzy Skolimowski is fast becoming one of my favourite directors. And to see him making a great film like this so late in his career, I think he's in his 80s now, is a really great thing. The BFI Blu-ray is a stunning one with some brilliant special features, so I highly recommend it to you if you can get your hands on it. Very quickly, I'll talk about the FP collection. This is the Blu-ray box set from Umbrella in Australia. These are the films by Jason Trost, in which he stars himself in this world where conflicts between gangs are solved via dancing games, you know, like Dance Dance Revolution, Dance Mat games. It's very silly in its concept, but also so well executed for films that are of the budget level here. They're very low budget movies. I'm only halfway through the set, but there's 4 films here and I think they progressively get crazier. So I can't wait to finish it. For now, I thought I'd briefly mention it because I'm having a great time, and Umbrella Entertainment do these fantastic collector's editions. And you can't get these films in the UK. Then we come to Blood Feast, which just got a 4K release from Synapse Films in the US. This is a remake of the Herschel Gordon Lewis movie, which I've never seen, but from a lot of people I've heard it's actually really terrible, but has this massive kind of cult following. This film is very bloody, very gory. It follows this family who worship this ancient Egyptian goddess, and they harvest people for their organs and they eat them. Yeah, it's one of those kind of movies. I have to be honest, when it comes to this sort of film where, you know, the aim is to shock and it's all about the gore and the craziness, I can be quite critical of this. And this film for me, for the most part, did not work. And the reason is, while there are some very interesting kills and some gore in this, there's also a lot of this melodrama where I think the story really gets bogged down. If it just stuck to its guns of lots of killing and gore and blood, then I think I might actually have enjoyed it a lot more than I did. Unfortunately, those great set pieces where you see some very out there stuff is interjected with this stuff where I just kind of got a bit bored, quite frankly. But there was some absolutely crazy stuff in this film. Certainly the kind of thing that I shouldn't talk about on YouTube because it probably would get me flagged on some kind of list. And while we're on the theme of crazy, gory, horror slasher movies, I've got The Jester, which just got a Blu-ray from Dazzler here in the UK. This is a clown movie, a jester, very much in the vein of the Terrifier movies. I've seen a lot of things said about this film comparing the Jester to Art the Clown from Terrifier. And again, the stuff that I just said about Blood Feast I think also applies here to the Jester. There's some interesting stuff done in terms of the killing and the way the Jester, you know, carries out these murders. However, the melodrama in between really sort of bogs down the pace of the movie. So again, if you're a fan of the gory kills, this might be the kind of thing you want. I really did like those horror aspects, but some of the character stuff really just didn't do it. So that was just some of the stuff that I've been watching the past 2 weeks. And there's no way people can say that I don't have a varied movie palette when I go from the Care Bears movie all the way to Blood Feast and then to The Mandalorian. For more recommendations from me, just click the video that's presented on screen right now. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.